Hi, it's Stuart Sutton at eXp Realty. Hope you're having a great day. We're going to go over Berry Creek home sales in 2021 compared to 2020 and answer some questions that a lot of people have been asking me and are pretty common in this super blistering hot market. Now, we've got quite a few stats to go over. I'm going to take a little more time than I usually do and explain them. So don't hesitate to send me follow-up emails, text, whatever you would like. Berry Creek in 21 had a pretty outstanding performance. The number of sales went up 2.6%. Keep in mind, 2020 was a pandemic year. We actually had a shelter in place for a while, but it did pretty well. But still, you would expect, well, shouldn't sales have gone up higher than just a couple of percent, 2.5%? Well, that is because inventory decreased. There were not as many homes on the market at any given time in Berry Creek. Therefore, the number of sales could not increase more because there weren't as many homes available for buyers to buy. Hope that makes sense. Here's where the big numbers come in. The average price, 38.25% more than 2020. The average price in Berry Creek as a whole is a little over $600,000 now. Now, yes, there are sections of Berry Creek, the Reserve as an example, where the average price would be much higher than $600,000. But overall, from the garden homes all the way over to the Reserve, the average price being over $600,000 is pretty impressive. The days on the market, how long did it take to sell a home in Berry Creek? Well, 14 days compared to like 80 days or 70 days or 100 days in previous years. Now, Berry Creek always seems to take just a little bit longer than other neighborhoods. Not always, but well, actually, just about every year I've done stats, it seems to take a little longer than the overall market. That, however, is not necessarily a negative. Yeah, Berry Creek is unique. It's got some factors that other neighborhoods don't have. It's got some attributes that other neighborhoods don't have, and typically has a few more homes in the market than other neighborhoods do. So that's why the days on market has always historically been slightly longer. 14 days is pretty impressive, though. Now, just as an FYI, my average days on market in Berry Creek is less than half of that. And the reason for that is because of the way that we price and market. Now, you might ask, 14 versus 7, why is that a big deal? Well, it's kind of like the difference between selling a home in 40 days versus 80 days in a normal market. That week in this super blistering hot market can really be a big deal. Homes that sell in the first week tend to do better than those that sell in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks and beyond. Hope that makes sense. The list to sell ratio is the price buyers pay compared to the asking price. That increased 4% over 1 year. From 20 to 21, that went up 4%. The average is now over 102.5%. That's pretty impressive. So that extra 4% over 2020 is an extra 24, 5, 14 in your pocket just because buyer demand is so high and inventory is low. Now, just so you know, my list to sell ratio is even higher. So in addition to that extra 24.5, you would put another 23,000 and some change in your pocket because our list to ratio is higher. Hope that makes sense. The sold over asking price. How many homes in Berry Creek sold over asking price? Well, a lot of people think it's all of them. And a lot of people think that about everything in the market, but it's just not the case. In Berry Creek, 62% of the homes sold over asking price. Now, there are neighborhoods where less than 50% sold over asking, and there are neighborhoods where nearly 100% sold over asking. But in Berry Creek, 62%, again, not bad, kind of middle of the range. Now, why wouldn't something sell over asking? Well, I did another video a couple weeks ago that kind of explained the pricing issue in this super blistering hot market and why that plays such a role. So the homes that didn't sell over asking in Berry Creek, it was typically a price issue. Not every single time, but most of the time that's what it would come down to. The amount over asking. People are asking, well, how much over asking are homes in Berry Creek selling for? Buyers want to know how much they should offer over asking. Listing agents are wanting to know, well, where should we price it to get it bid up over asking and by how much? Well, the range was pretty dramatic in Berry Creek. From $100 over asking to $195,000 over asking. Now keep in mind that was the 62% that sold over asking price. There were homes that sold at asking or below. But the bulk of those that sold over asking seemed to be between $20,000 and $50,000 over asking. Now, there were some that were a little bit less and some more. The one at $195 was kind of an exception. It was the most expensive house in the neighborhood, and $100 over asking is a little bit of an exception as well. The bulk of them seem to be between the $20,000 and $50,000 range. I hope that makes sense. Now, over $750,000. There were sales in 21 over $750,000 that seemed pretty normal. 19 of them. In 2020, there were 0. So jumping from 0 to 19 is pretty dramatic. Over $1 million. We saw 2 sales over $1 million in Berry Creek and none, obviously, in 2020. So home prices in Berry Creek have jumped just over this 1 year. Let's go the other direction. How many homes sold under $300,000 in 2021? That would be 0. None. In 2020, there were 8. Now, that's not a majority by any means or even a big minority, but 8 is about 10% of the homes. And if you keep an eye out and watch, you could get in Berry Creek under $300,000 in previous years. In 2021, didn't happen. May not happen again, depending on what happens with the real estate market and the cycles that we see in the future. The average price, as I mentioned earlier, in 21 was 38.25% above 2020. Well, what about the previous 5 years? Well, if you look at the whole 5 years as a big picture, it was 52.36%, about 14% above the 38.25. So in that 5-year period, 38% of your increase came in 1 year. So let's look at the previous 4 years. That would be about 14% for the previous 4 years. Moving along steadily, but again, 21 was absolutely historical. And 5 years ago, the average time on the market was about 80 days. And that was pretty normal year after year in Berry Creek. I've seen it over 100. I've seen it down below 70. But for the most part, 80 is pretty normal in Berry Creek. The days on the market of 14, obviously, in 21, again, absolutely historical. Here's what a lot of people don't pay attention to. We actually have an array of ratios that we pay attention to when it comes to putting homes in the market. And this is one of them. The success ratio is a reflection of how many homes went in the market and how many went to closing. So 97% of the homes that went in the market in Berry Creek actually ended up closing in 21. 5 years ago, that was only 69%. So you're virtually guaranteed to go to closing if you put your home in the market in 21. 5 years ago, you had a 69% chance of going to closing. Every year has its different factors and scenarios. 21 was an incredible year in Berry Creek. If you have other questions beyond this video, let me know. We'll actually do another video regarding various sections, for example, the reserve and the woods and garden homes and things like that. If I can help in any way, of course, let me know. SeeBerryCreekHomes.com might be where you're watching this video, or BerryCreekStats.com. But if we can help in any way, let me know. We do watch Berry Creek very, very closely. I've been specializing in Berry Creek for, I started 8 years ago and have sold more homes in Berry Creek over the last 7 years than any other agent. If I can help in any way, let me know. And remember, it's your choice, so make it a powerful day. Bye-bye.